Thank you, guys. I'm very hungover, and I have 100 slides, so this probably won't work. I've been told that in 18 minutes, a red dot will appear on my forehead, and there'll be a gunshot, and my body will fall into this stage, and so that will be the end of it. In the meantime, let's try and learn some stuff. So I've noticed that from chatting to people today, there's some really interesting people, and there's like families here, there's people who support each other. You guys were telling me at dinner yesterday how there's this real community to the whole St. Gallen University. So I want you to look at the people that you know in this room and kind of send them a psychic message of thanks for all the support and all the things they've done to kind of help you be the best version of yourself. Thank you, this is good. And then while you're doing that, I want you to realize that according to statistics, global statistics, you're looking at the people most likely to murder you. And the reason I say this, it's a trap, right? You know those motivational talks and those articles you read on LinkedIn about productivity and all those things? This is the satanic inversion of all of that, okay? So please forgive me for what's to come. So basically, I have done a TED Talk before, and it was banned. It was not allowed to be shown. They didn't put it up on the internet. They said that the ideas in it were dangerous. So let me present to you the most dangerous group in the world. This is the most dangerous TED Talk in the world, apparently, okay? So let's see what we can do with it. So me and my brother, yes, sorry about the hair. My brother and I have always been complete losers. And basically, the one thing that my dad would always say to us was, he's Scottish, so he sounds a bit like Shrek. He'd say, boys. Even when he loved us, we just felt cold, like, it doesn't feel like you love us, really. So he'd say, boys, remember, a joke is only a joke if both people think it's funny. And honestly, I'm in my 30s now, and I still fundamentally disagree with that. I think it's much funnier if one person thinks it's funny and the other one doesn't. So all we would do, me and my brother, was play pranks and practical jokes on each other constantly. So this is all we had. The only skill we had was this. And we lived in situations like this at university, I'm sure you guys know this feeling. Why is it at a certain phase of our lives we think it's really awesome to collect a cone and take it home? I don't understand that. So strange. Yeah, that really resonated, right? So, we lived in hell, basically, right? This was our house. We lived in absolute hell. We were complete losers in every possible way. Our procrastination meters were through the roof. We didn't do any work. I see that you're resonating with all this stuff. And what's interesting is now my job, as you just heard, is I have to teach innovation, right? So it's an amazing situation. I don't know how this happened, where basically this complete loser is now the guy that's supposed to go and tell, and I've worked with the biggest celebrities in the world, the biggest CEOs in the world, and basically I've realized that innovation is kind of BS unless it comes down to change. And what's interesting is if I can change, anybody on this planet can change, okay? So what my current job is now is basically I go and meet with leaders. I've met with some of the, like I said, some of the biggest CEOs and the biggest celebrities in the world and governments and politicians. And I basically go in and they say, can you please change this person who just does not want to change? But what's interesting, and this is the kind of serious point, is that technology, as Lulu was saying a bit earlier, technology is growing at such a rate because of Moore's law and another incredibly extremely exothermic reactions to the way the world is changing. Our human adaptability, our ability to change isn't able to keep up. So this is actually why I think this information I'm about to give you is actually really, really powerful and important. Because literally at this point in history, we cannot keep up with the rate of change, and it's going to get faster and faster and faster. Now, obviously, this is worrying for, the Mr. Burnses and the CEOs of the world, but much more importantly, it's worrying for every single business on the planet and for every single human being on the planet. You guys are probably training to do things that may not exist in 15 years' time. I do a job now that, my careers advisor, there was no such thing as being the head of innovation anywhere. So it's an incredible moment, but what we need to think is, how do we update our human operating system so that the rate of change isn't going to get ahead of us and leave us in a really bad situation? So the common way to do this, and because it's nearly January, is this, right? You know this one, don't you? Everyone's like, oh yeah, that thing. And you sit down there on January the 1st, and you're like, this year, it'll be different. You get rid of the cone, right? No, I don't need that anymore. I'm growing out of that. And you write down all these goals and all these things you want to achieve, right? And then you're told, willpower. Willpower will get you there. And then you say, my name is willpower. And for like 3 days, you are willpower. And you're walking around. And whatever that thing that you're supposed to do is, you did it. And the thing you're not supposed to do, you don't do. And then suddenly you go, I'm going to read some books. And so you get all the kind of success literature and you go on LinkedIn and 5 productivity hacks of Elon Musk. And you go, yeah, amazing. This is amazing. I'm absolutely killing life, right? And then you get into this hacker mentality and everyone is, you read Silicon Valley stuff. You start eating food that they grow on the moon. And anyway, you can tell I was drinking last night. And then life comes along and just goes bang. Because everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face, right? And so what we realize is, this is my contention. I read every one of those books. I did everything apart from eat the food from the moon, because that doesn't even exist. And it just honestly does not work, right? It's time to take a breath and accept that it is another trap. This whole billion-dollar success literature industry, I have to say, 95% of TED Talks, everything about hacking and changing and trying to alter yourself from the inside, it doesn't work, okay? Sorry to bear this news. You can see why TED have not decided to publish previous TED Talks. And do you know why? It's a function of time. In the film Interstellar, there's a great line where the old scientist is asked, who's your enemy, essentially? What are you afraid of? And he says, I'm afraid of time. And this is going to get a little bit conceptual, but we constantly think that this person that's going to do all these things that the 5 productivity hacks that we read on LinkedIn said to do is this person that we're going to be tomorrow, right? But tomorrow is this place, this fictional land where 99% of all human productivity happens. But when it actually comes, it's just the now again, and we're the same person, right? So this version of ourselves, so we set ourselves up with I'm going to be this person, I'm going to go to the gym, I'm going to stop collecting cones, I'm going to do whatever it is, right? But when that moment comes, it's the now, and we're the same person. So we think we're this guy, but we're this guy. And what's really interesting is we've been told, this is the information age, we've been told that more information can solve this problem. So we read more, and we think, I'm going to download more audiobooks, and then I've got friends that listen to audiobooks at 3 times the speed, so they can consume more information, so they can learn more, so they can change. But that doesn't create change. Someone just went, yeah. One guy, Dad? Strange. Anyway, so we're really in this, and I fundamentally believe it's a trap. And I think it's a very profitable trap for a lot of people. So we're told, if you consume more information, if you read that other book, have you read The Lean Startup? Oh yeah, well, have you read the other one, The Long Tail? Oh yeah, you've got to read this one. Well, and I'm not saying don't read. I mean, I've never done any reading, none of it doing me any harm, but whatever. But the point is, it's a fundamental situation when we have to accept that we don't need any more information. And what I've learned from teaching celebrities, CEOs, governments, even politicians, how to change and how to move with technology is they don't need me to come in and tell them more stuff. They know what they've got to do. You all know what you need to do to pass your exams and all the things you need to do to be the people you are. The question is, will you do them? So at a certain point, you've got to kind of fess up to this. It's you versus you. And I'm not certain that the version of you that you think you want to be and the version of you that acts in the way that you're not so happy with, I'm not sure that those two can honestly be said to be the same continuous self over time. And so actually, I think we might be modeling this wrong. And I think economics, the economic paradigm, has given us this homo economicus kind of transient preference ordering, they call it. It's basically we're the same person now as we will be at 2 o'clock in the morning. You'll see, at 2 o'clock in the morning at the after party, I will not be the same person. So I'm just going to be totally honest with you. I went through a period where I was very, very, very affected by this. I was reading everything there was to read. I was really getting into all this stuff. And it wasn't working for me. My procrastination meter was through the roof, as I said. And I really, honestly began to self-loathe. I thought I knew I could, and I knew what I needed to do, but I just wasn't doing any of it. And instead of doing it, I would read more. And so actually, I started to get to the point where I was suffering from unbelievable anxiety and panic attacks. And I'd be sitting there, and it was basically because I literally chronically was building up this expectation of who I was supposed to be or what I was supposed to do, and never, ever delivering on that expectation. And I hope this is therapy, because I think we never talk about this. We're told that we're supposed to always feel like, yeah, we're moving forward. And the BS that we tell each other is, yeah, it's all going well, actually. But I think that we're building this anxiety. And the moment that it really kind of changed for me was my nana, who you can see in the middle here, and you can see my brother and me and all my family running around. This is my family, so you can see kind of where I'm coming from, really. My nana was diagnosed with cancer, and I'll never forget this. My mum and my nana had a chat, and Nana said she would love, when she's in the hospital, to have a little tape, back in the day, of music. So, she couldn't use iTunes and all this stuff. So my brother and I said, we will make you this tape, and we will get it to you in your hospital bed. And my mum phoned a couple of times. She's like, Nana's really looking forward to that tape. It's going to be great. Like, can you hurry up, though? Because, she's not well. And we said, yeah, and went out on another night out, got a cone, brought it home, and went crazy and did all the things. And kept procrastinating, kept putting it off. Remember Nana saying to me on the phone, I'd love that tape. I'm literally in this hospital room on my own all the time. I'd really appreciate that tape. Yeah, sure, we'll definitely do it tomorrow. Absolutely. You know what's going to happen, right? One day, Mum called and said, Nana's gone. Like, don't worry about the tape. And that was the final straw. Me and my brother just went, this is it. We have procrastinated our way through 95% of our life. We're both suffering from crippling anxiety. And now the one person that we absolutely loved, that we owed something to, we didn't do because we were caught in the moment, and it was going to be this future self that was going to do it that never arrived. So this mixtape really changed things, and we really tore apart in the middle and said, right, never again. And we basically found, through research, this global subculture of people who actually, this was back in the days of the dark web, and you could get on there quite easily and do sorts of things. And anyway, that's enough now. Ask me at 2 a.m. And what we realized was that from Silicon Valley to Shanghai, there are people with a system that doesn't run anything like the system we talked about just a minute ago. And this system is called lock-in. And I want to give you this. This is a dangerous idea, okay? This is the dangerous bit. Lock-in is one of those things where if you want to go down the rabbit hole, you can go all the way down. So this is kind of cover your ears if you don't want to hear any more. Lock-in takes the idea that we are not the same person over time very, very seriously. And it basically says that the person you are at time A is a very fundamentally different person than you could be at time B because of your preferences and the way that you're set up. And basically those, as I said, you have a critical self. A self knows you've got to make that tape for your nana, knows that you've got to do that work, knows you've got to do your TED Talk tomorrow and not go out on the night before like I did. And an experiential self that wants to live in the now. So this future self, this critical self that knows what it needs to do and can consider time, and this myopic experiential self that wants to maximize in the present moment. And they, as I said, are not friends. This is a very famous footballer, George Best. You can see him having his experiential self on the left-hand side here, and his critical self was the one that paid. So you have this moment where you have something that's what we call in law a distributional issue of justice over time. What that basically means is that you maximize so much at one moment that you completely take from the future, and the person you take from is yourself in the future. So smoking, drinking, all these things, they essentially take from someone, but that someone is someone that you don't have any relationship with yet, but it's you. So this becomes this really metaphysical thing, and it was really interesting that when George Best died, he literally wrote this thing saying, don't do this. And so we started researching this and going really deep into this, and there's actually this thing in demonology where in Judaism there's this demon called the Yetzer. And the Yetzer basically pulls you away from the self that you could be into this far lower self that actually tears your life apart. So actually, we started to take this idea really, really seriously. And if you look at it, personal decisions are now the leading cause of death. And you have this situation where whatever it is, there is this distributional issue of justice that we have to deal with. It's causing so much angst, so much pain, and now with the economy changing so fast, if we can't find a way to upgrade ourselves, we're in deep, deep, deep trouble. So that's why I thought, now is the time to bring this idea out. And it makes sense because we're foraging animals, right? We literally maximize in the moment because of our evolutionary psychology. And the classic example of this is Adam and Eve. Adam and Eve got chucked out of the Garden of Eden. They got chucked out of paradise for an apple. I mean, maybe there was a metaphor there, which I haven't got, but, there's an apple, right? And look, they look like, they're like, oh, Mom, Dad, oh, come on. So what you end up is this moment where we forage, we take what we can, eat, drink, and be merry, for tomorrow we may die. So we're constantly maximizing the present moment. So how do you escape this demonic trap? You've got to find a way to lock in your critical self, your self that knows what time is going to require of it, and lock it in. So when that werewolf self starts to come out, you can't let it control you. And Ulysses is the classic example of this. So Odysseus knew that the sirens were going to be calling him, and he tied himself to the mast and told his men to completely ignore everything he said. And this is game theory. So in game theory, it's all about mutually assured destruction. It's all about changing the payoff matrix. So you've got to make it really expensive, really painful, and massively consequential if you don't do what you know you must do. So these things don't work. These things do. And we built the world on contracts. We built the commercial world that we live in on contracts. I can contract with you about, sorry about this, but I can contract with you about anything almost, right? And we accept that there are penalties and punishments and enforceability to that contract. Consequences if I don't come through with what I'm supposed to do. But there's no such thing as that with promises that you make to yourself. So we started to say, what if we supported each other? What if my brother makes a promise and I enforce it? Because promises without the sword are nothing but words. And so this is the kind of apocalypse now. You've got to make fear your friend. So you've got to be so afraid of not achieving that. Cortez, when he arrived in South America, burnt all the ships, so there was no way back for the men. He made fear their friend. There's now ways of self-excluding yourself from casinos, so that you literally can't get in. And what will happen is this other version of yourself will try and fight back. It'll be like an exorcism, right? But eventually, I'm just going to finish with this. If you embrace the fact that it's more terrifying to fail than it is to succeed, you will achieve insane things. And this was me at Buckingham Palace collecting an award. This is my brother going to Harvard. And we only achieve this stuff through this. And I just want to say, if we can achieve anything and update the human operating system that fast, I think there's something in this for everyone. And hopefully we can use this, get a bit more specific about it, and build it into a system, and actually try and update ourselves as fast as technology is having us to update ourselves. Thanks so much, guys. Cheers.